Remember to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. It was one of those mornings that felt wrapped in soft clouds and a light rain, the kind that makes you want to stay inside with a warm drink and a story to lose yourself in. I was older now, living on my own in a simple home on Oak Ridge Way, a quiet neighborhood where people exchanged friendly waves and borrowed small things like flour or tools, but never shared much. Beyond that, we all knew the faces, but not the hearts behind them. Life had become a steady routine, calm, familiar, and if I'm honest, a bit too quiet at times. That day, I sat by the window in my kitchen, watching raindrops cling to the leaves outside. My rose bushes were in full bloom, their petals heavy with water, and the willow tree in the yard moved gently with the wind. I was deep in thought, nursing a cup of herbal tea, when a soft knock pulled me from my reverie. Visitors were rare. My daughter Anna had her own busy days in the nearby town, and my friends were caught up in their own routines. I paused, then set my cup aside and headed to the door. To my surprise, Mr. Ellis stood there, a man with graying hair and a gentle expression. He lived a few houses away, and we'd shared polite words over the years, but nothing more. He held a small parcel and seemed a touch uneasy, which caught me off guard. "Good morning, Evelyn," he said, his voice kind but hesitant. "I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." "Not at all," I replied with a smile. "What brings you by? Please just call me Robert," he said, smiling back. "I noticed you've been out in your garden quite a bit. You have a real talent for it." I chuckled lightly. "It keeps me company. I find it soothing." He nodded and offered the package. "I came across this at the local market and thought of you. It's nothing special, just a little something to lift your spirits." I was touched. It had been a long time since anyone had given me something like that. I took the parcel, feeling its light weight. "Thank you, Robert, that's very thoughtful." He shifted on his feet, looking almost shy. "Well, I'll let you get back to your day. Take care, Evelyn, you too," I said, watching as he turned and headed back down the path. Once inside, I unwrapped the gift to find a lovely hand-painted pot, decorated with simple vines and blossoms. It was just the sort of thing I might have chosen myself. I traced my fingers over the smooth surface, feeling a blend of appreciation, wonder, and something else I couldn't quite name. Later, I planted a small ivy in it and set it on my front step. As I worked, I glanced toward Robert's house more than once, realizing how little I knew about him beyond the fact that he lived alone and had been on the street for years. The next day, I baked some ginger snaps using an old family recipe and took them to his door. He looked pleased when he answered. "I wanted to thank you for the thoughtful gift," I explained, offering the plate. He smiled warmly. "You didn't need to, but I'm grateful. Would you like to come in for tea?" After a brief pause, I agreed. His home was welcoming, with shelves of books and a stone fireplace. We sat and talked about gardens, travels, and stories we both enjoyed. I was struck by how natural it felt, how at ease I was with him. Walking home that evening, I felt a quiet warmth. It wasn't just the gift or the visit. It was how Robert had noticed me, seen me as more than just another face on the street. That night in bed, I reflected on his kindness and how it had stirred something new inside me. A small act had opened a door to feelings I hadn't expected. The days that followed carried a subtle change, like the world had brightened just a little. The rain lifted, and sunlight painted everything in soft gold. My garden seemed to thrive more, or perhaps I was seeing it differently. I thought of Robert often. Our talk over tea had been so effortless. It was more than the topics. It was the way he listened, truly heard me in a way that made me feel valued. A few days later, while I was out tending the flower beds, I heard footsteps. Robert approached with his hands in his pockets and a friendly smile. "Good morning, Evelyn," he said, pausing at the gate. "Your flowers are truly lovely. You've got such a talent." I wiped my hands on my apron and smiled. "Thank you, Robert. They're my little escape. Would you like to see them up close?" He nodded and I led him through, sharing details about the blooms. The rich crimsons, the pale pinks, the soft whites. He asked questions and admired them with genuine interest. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I've always wanted a garden like this, but I never found the knack for it. Your dedication is inspiring." "It's easier than it seems," I replied. "It just needs steady care and a touch of heart." He chuckled. "Well, perhaps you could show me how?" "If you're willing." I paused briefly, then said, "I'd enjoy that. Why don't you come by tomorrow and we'll start?" His face lit up. "I'd like that very much, Evelyn." The next morning, Robert arrived as promised, dressed for the task. I gave him some gloves and guided him through preparing the soil. We worked together, chatting and sharing laughs as we planted and tended. It turned out to be more enjoyable than I expected, and I found myself appreciating his company in a new way. As time went on, our meetings became a regular part of the week. We'd gather in the mornings, sometimes at my place, sometimes his, focusing on the garden, but also on our talks. It wasn't just about the plants anymore. It was the stories we shared, the quiet moments, and the bond that was quietly forming. One afternoon, after finishing up in his yard, Robert suggested we take a break on the porch. He brought out some fresh lemonade, and we sat watching the birds dart around. "You know," he said after a while, "I've been here for many years, but I never really connected with anyone around. I suppose I've always kept to myself." I nodded, understanding. "It's easy to do that. We all get wrapped up in our own worlds." He looked at me thoughtfully. "I'm glad you're here, Evelyn. You've made this place feel alive again." His words touched me deeply. "Thank you, Robert. That means more than I can say." We sat in that comfortable quiet for a bit, the sun warm on our faces and the breeze light. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly at ease. As the weeks passed, we grew closer. We shared more than just gardening advice. We opened up about our lives, our families, and our dreams. I learned he had been a school instructor before retiring, enjoyed soft music, and had a fondness for classic tales. He spoke of his late partner, Eleanor, and how her memory still shaped his days. "She was my world," he said one evening as we watched the sunset. "I never thought I'd find that kind of bond again." My heart ached for him. Losing someone is hard. "It changes you," he nodded. "But I think she'd be pleased to see me now, finding joy with someone like you." His words lingered with me long after I left that night. Lying in bed, I reflected on our growing friendship. It wasn't something I'd planned, but it had become a vital part of my days. Life has a way of testing us, though. Just when things feel settled, it throws in a twist. For Robert and me, that twist came as a storm. It was early fall, and the air had been warmer than usual. The trees were starting to change, turning the street into a canvas of warm hues. We'd been spending more time together, sharing meals, talking over coffee, even wandering local paths. It felt like we were building something real. Then the bad weather hit. It began with distant thunder and dark clouds building on the horizon. By evening, the wind was strong, and rain fell in heavy waves. I stood at the window, watching the trees bend and the water rush down. The lights flickered, then went dark, leaving the house in shadows. I fumbled for candles and a lantern, trying to stay calm as the storm grew louder. Then came a sharp crash, wood splitting. My pulse quickened. I grabbed my coat and hurried outside, rain soaking me in seconds. Following the noise led me to Robert's house, where I saw the damage. A large tree had fallen, tearing through his roof. "Robert," I called, knocking urgently. "Are you all right?" He opened the door, looking shaken but unharmed. "Evelyn." "I'm okay, but the trees made a mess of things." Inside, the destruction was clear. Branches and debris littered the room, water pouring in from the gap above. "You can't stay here," I said, taking his arm. "It's not safe." He glanced around reluctantly. "But my home will fix it." I cut in. "For now, come to mine. You can stay until it's sorted." He didn't argue. We gathered a few items, clothes, remedies, a framed picture of Elinor, and made our way through the downpour to my place. Once inside, I handed him dry clothes. "Change into these. I'll get something warm ready." When he returned, I had tea brewing and a fire going. He sank onto the couch, looking worn. "Thank you, Evelyn," he said quietly. "I don't know how I'd manage without you." I passed him a mug and sat nearby. "That's what neighbors are for. We look out for each other." We sat in silence, the storm's fury outside contrasting with the fire's glow. It felt comforting. Despite everything, this reminds me of a rough night with Elinor. Robert shared. We were newly together, with little to our name, but we had each other. That was enough. I smiled, touched. "She sounds like she was wonderful." "She was," he replied softly, "and you remind me of her in so many ways." His words caught me off guard, stirring something deep. "Robert." He took my hand, his grip steady. "Evelyn, I need to say this. These times with you have meant more than I can express. You've brought light back, and I don't want to lose it." I looked into his eyes, feeling a rush of warmth. "You've done the same for me, Robert." I didn't know I needed this until it was here. He smiled gently. "Then let's see where it leads." The storm raged on, but inside, it felt like dawn had broken. We talked late, sharing stories, until the rain eased and light crept in. The next day brought clear skies and a fresh feel, like the world was offering a new start. We sat with coffee, discussing the repairs and next steps. Over the following days, we worked side by side on his house. It was tiring, but it drew us closer, turning shared effort into something deeper. One evening, after clearing debris, we relaxed on my porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in soft hues. "I've been thinking about us," Robert said thoughtfully. "Life moves fast, and I've spent too much time alone. I want to be with you if that's what you want." Tears welled up, but I let them. "I want that too, Robert." More than I realized. We shared a tender moment, a quiet promise in the fading light. As weeks passed, our lives intertwined more. We talked about dreams, shared meals, and found comfort in each other's company. Life had its challenges, but together we faced them with a quiet strength, grateful for the unexpected kindness that had brought us here.